Colin Kaepernick is coming under heavy scrutiny, and some are in favor of Colin Kaepernick in terms of protesting the national anthem during a preseason football game. This created waves over the weekend. He explained a little more as to why he was protesting the national anthem, something he's been doing, and by protesting the national anthem, I mean he was not standing during the national anthem. This is something he's done during every preseason game, was finally asked about it after the third preseason game, and this is what he had to say in his press conference, or I'm sorry, in a conference with reporters near his locker afterwards.
Ultimately, it's to bring awareness and make people, realize what's really going on in this country. There are a lot of things that are going on that are unjust, people aren't being held accountable for, and that's something that needs to change. That's something that, this country stands for freedom, liberty, justice for all, and it's not happening for all right now. I'll continue to sit. I'm going to continue to stand with the people that are being oppressed. To me, this is something that has to change, and when there's significant change, and I feel like that flag represents what it's supposed to represent, and this country is representing people the way that it's supposed to, I'll stand. There's people being murdered unjustly and not being held accountable. Cops are getting paid leave for killing people. That's not right. That's not right by anyone's standards.
So Kaepernick, as we mentioned before, has been protesting the national anthem by sitting for the first couple preseason games. He talks about it in that video, which is courtesy of NBC News. Thank you, NBC News, for that video of him by his locker. So, Francis, this is something that now, since the Olympics, has started to roll over. Gabby Douglas, for one, who didn't put her hand over her heart, came over heavy scrutiny for entirely different and even more entirely ridiculous reasons. And now you have Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick vying for a job in the NFL. He's a backup to Blaine Gabbert for the San Francisco 49ers. New coach in there, Chip Kelly, set to take over. Is it this year? This year, yeah, with Chip Kelly. So it's not like Colin Kaepernick is the most polarizing player on the field anymore. He is not of the essence of certain other players that when they do make their stand, they also have the backing of their coaches and executives that they're going to be taking center in week 1 through week 16, 17, barring any injuries. Kaepernick is in a little bit different of a situation. However, he wanted to protest. This is something that he feels he believes in. We have the freedom to protest in this country, freedom of religion, freedom to practice whatever religion you want, and politically, freedom to express your views and opinions. I guess, where do you stand on Colin Kaepernick, for or against the standing or sitting, or is it bigger than that overall?
I think it would be very easy for us to sit here and say that this is not the right thing to do, that everyone should be standing united together. I would personally like to see the country stand with each other rather than some sitting, some standing, metaphorically, symbolically, whatever way you want to take it. I think we are better united. But again, I've stated this on the main show. I've came under scrutiny on it, but I'm going to stick by my my intuition when it comes to this. Is I have never felt that oppression. So for me to sit here and scrutinize someone for looking at the flag in a different way. Like, I've been in the country for now 6-7 years, and I see the flag standing for freedom, for the ability to pursue something that you love, for a lot of good, positive things. But I also see some of the darkness that comes with this country. And if I was to have felt that, and if I was to have felt that oppression, then maybe I would see the flag in a different light. I would see it as something a little different. I'd see it as something that it doesn't stand for all of its fundamentals that many people believed it has done in the past. So again, it would be naive of me to sit here and completely scrutinize. And if you go through and you see the reaction to it, more often than not, you will get a lot of people documenting their thoughts on Colin Kaepernick. And I would say that around 80% of those probably haven't felt oppression either, right? And I think that they're just so snapping their judgments. It's like, oh, well, he's not standing for that flag. That's paying homage to all the people that have given their lives for the country. And I agree. I think that it is a great thing. I love to see the national anthem played before at school. I love to see it getting played before every game, collegiate, professional. I think it really does symbolize a unity in this country. But if more people were to uphold that unity and try to unite the people more so, then you wouldn't have this split. But if you're going to rip apart a guy who has his own injustices that he wants to portray, that's not American, because he has the right to protest to something like that. Whether he is of a stature of a LeBron James or anyone else, I don't know, but he obviously feels some sort of injustice, and I'm not going to sit here and rip him apart. I'm just going to say that it's not something I would like to see. I'd like to see more unity. I'd like to see everyone kind of stand together and maybe protest together, because I have my clear views on that. But again, I'm not gonna discredit him for that.
Well, you make a very valid point in the way that, yeah, if this country, we have the freedom to do that, then he has the freedom to protest it. If the flag stands for freedom, as many people say it does, and you are allowed to believe in that flag whichever way you feel is acceptable. The big scrutiny that came under it is a lot because, actually I should say this first. One look through Colin Kaepernick's Twitter, and this wouldn't come as a surprise. So I think it's like a little bit, not necessarily hypocritical, not the right word, but those who say, well, where is this coming from out of left field with Colin Kaepernick? Scroll through his Twitter feed. Scroll through his Twitter feed. See what this guy retweets every single day. See what he talks about every single day. I know you shouldn't hold anybody accountable by just their one form of social media. However, he's a very outspoken political person. Whether you agree with that or not is up to you. I'm not going to take that away from anybody either. But here's the athlete's reaction. So I do have to say, as we go through these athletes' reaction, what Colin Kaepernick wanted is exactly what he got. He wanted a national conversation about this, and now you have the likes of Arian Foster and Tyler Eifert. I should say national conversation in the scope of the NFL, so a football conversation going on at least, but it's been brought to the attention of the masses because social media has such a major reach. If we start with element number 2 and go through number 12, there's both sides of the conversation here. Justin Pugh, I will be standing during the national anthem tonight. Thank you to all gender, race, religion that put your lives in line for that flag. Obviously in reference to Colin Kaepernick. And just look at the amount of retweets it gets. Matthew Hasselbeck, easy way to make sure you're not the starting quarterback on opening day with the worst use of a hashtag, one of the worst uses I've ever seen, hashtag September 11th. Don't bring in September 11th into this conversation. Not that much to do with each other. Damian Woody, this is what comes with a free society unless people hate democracy. Next up, he continued to say Cap has every right to express his feelings and beliefs, and people have every right to disagree. Yeah. That's one of the best ones that we've seen so far. He's right about that. Adrian Claiborne, the easy thing to do is make fun of Cap and his play. How about trying to understand where he's coming from? But that would be too hard.
Preach.
Continuing with that, Claiborne said he can't stand up for his people because he makes millions. So ignorant and narrow-minded. He's being sarcastic in that tweet. Text coming in from coaches, players, and front office executives from around the league on Kaepernick. So far, every player backs him. No coach executives does. That's not necessarily true. Some players didn't back him, but still. And Arian Foster, probably the biggest name on these tweets so far. The flag represents freedom, the freedom to choose to stand or not. That's what makes this country beautiful. I think he continued to say, you can't be selective and dictate what freedoms this country stands for. You are free to have any religious, political views you feel. Tyler Eifert sent out like an F1 fighter. Pretty cool picture. My big cuz took a Bengals flag up on a mission in hostile territory, but thanks for defending the flag. That really matters, even for the people who don't appreciate it. Subtweet.
Yeah.
Hashtag Colin Kaepernick.
I think when you resort it to, when people associate the flag with those that give their life to serve this country, that is one side of it. And I think that anyone who doesn't pay homage to the sacrifices that people make to keep this country safe, I would never back those that would do that. But then again, I don't think that's what he's protesting.
Colin Kaepernick, that's exactly true. That's not what he's protesting. And he said he has, most recently, through a Bleacher Report update I just got, he has the utmost respect for our military. He means no disrespect to the military. Because as you just point out, that's not what he's not protesting military presence overseas.
Is it so hard to have the conversation? Is it so hard to understand that we can disagree? That if you thought Colin Kaepernick was insulting the country that you uphold to the highest regard, just for 1 second think that he doesn't hold it in that highest regard for reasons that he believes in. It's not reasons to discredit people that give their life for this country. Is reason to discredit that he doesn't believe that the fundamentals that flag stands for, that this country stands for, that people are often given the opportunity to go forward and pursue in this country. He doesn't believe that it stands for the same thing for a certain group of people. He's talking about those that are oppressed. He's talking about those that are coming under scrutiny. He's talking about police brutality. So yeah, and it's right. You can disagree as well. That's what the freedom of this country puts forward, is that you can have your say on it. And again, to reiterate my very first point in the clip, I would love for everyone to be united. And I would love that we, as united, we all stand together, we pay homage to the flag, and we also address that paying homage to the flag doesn't mute our minds to the issues that are going on. It doesn't mute our voice. It doesn't hold us silenced. It's saying, all right, we understand that this flag represents so many good things in this country. But in representing that, we have to address issues. Nothing's perfect. Just because you're paying homage to it doesn't mean that everything is rosy. There is some clear fundamental problems in the country.
I wanted to wrap up with two things. For one, there's a lot of people who kind of stated on Twitter, other places, some sports pundits. Well, and this was basically what they were saying. They go, well, if he doesn't like the national anthem, he should just sit in the locker room. It's a good point, except it defeats the entire point of a protest.
Yeah.
And that's what he wants. Two, if you are really that mad at Colin Kaepernick for not standing during the national anthem, maybe you're part of the problem, because all he wants is to have that conversation. Whether you agree with him or not is entirely up to you. But if he just wants to have that conversation and shed light on it, shouldn't the conversation start shifting over to the actual problems than a quarterback on an NFL team getting paid millions of dollars who chooses to sit? And keep in mind, in the NFL's own rulebook and the NFL's own statement, it is the player's option to stand or to sit during the national anthem. He is not breaking any rule. And whether you find it offensive or not, again, is up to you. If it were me personally, I would stand up. I would stand up during the anthem, but I would make it abundantly clear that I don't agree with it. If it were me, personally, I have no problem with standing up during the national anthem. But if I were in Colin Kaepernick's shoes, I would stand up during the anthem, and I would make it abundantly clear what my feelings were in a press conference every single day going forward. You know, maybe whatever. Here's what I can promise you, though, to wrap this up. On Monday, September 12th, the Rams visit the San Francisco 49ers for the second Monday Night Football game. There's a doubleheader for Monday Night Football to open the season. Keep in mind a couple things. For one, unless there is, unfortunately, a tragedy that happens somewhere globally or home to this country in the U.S., they almost never show the national anthem during a broadcast unless it is a playoff game, or again, you'll see it, of course, on Sunday, because that's the anniversary of September 11th, maybe Monday too. I can promise you one thing. There will be a broadcast of that national anthem. There will be 15 cameras on Colin Kaepernick. Mm-hmm. So if Colin Kaepernick wanted to protest and national attention, he's about to get all of it right in his face on the first Monday Night Football game of the year.
Real quick, guys, before we wrap.
Yeah.
Kill the speakers in here. Francis brought up unity. And I think that's really, really important when you're talking about this issue, especially with his course of action. So with any argument, with any sort of stance on something, it's very important. Strength in numbers is a very real thing. And Colin Kaepernick, unfortunately, the way he did it with being the single man sitting down and not saluting the flag, unfortunately, makes him look like a little kid crying in the wilderness, regardless of the legitimacy of his argument. It makes him look like this single person being a rebel, being that one guy standing out. When you have numbers behind you, if there are players that support you and having the other players sit on the bench with you, having a group of you that sits down, because it's so much easier to listen to a group because of crowd mentality, whatever you want to call it. It's so much easier to analyze it and say, oh, wow, the entire 49ers bench is sitting down. They're not saluting the flag. Let's have a conversation about why, as opposed to this one disrespectful player that didn't do what he was supposed to do. Shame on him for not doing it. It becomes a completely different conversation. So I just think on Colin Kaepernick's part, it could have been a little more thought out. It could have been a little more formulated, and it could have been an actual campaign or a force, as opposed to this one guy making kind of a stink about it.
Right. That's a good point. I like your point, Ja'Cory. Absolutely. And I agree with that. On top of that, that's all we got for you on this clip. So comment below what you think. Agree or disagree with Colin Kaepernick. It's going to get fun in that comment section, I'm sure. We'll see you next time.